U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry said today that Israel and the Palestinians pledged to take concrete steps to calm recent tensions. Violence between the two sides erupted around Jerusalem's holiest site. Muslims revere it as the noble sanctuary where Al-Aqsa Mosque stands. It's also the location of the Temple Mount, where the Jewish temple once stood. Professor Louis Fishman studies the Mideast peace process and the region, and he splits his time between Istanbul and New York and teaches history at CUNY Brooklyn College. He's here in our New York studios. Hey, Louis, it's good to see you.
Good seeing you. How you doing?
So let's start with just a bit of a history primer and remind us about the history and the controversy of the history and religious rights of the Temple, what I know as the Temple Mount, also known as the Noble Sanctuary.
Yeah, Noble Sanctuary. Well, first of all, it's very important to remember that the current conflict over there is not a religious conflict. It is a political conflict. And as we see that the Arab-Israeli conflict or the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, progresses over the last century, it is turning more into a religious type conflict, veering away from the previous conflict over the land itself. So that's first of all. But it is holy for both Jews and Muslims. We have to remember that it is a site, as you pointed out, of the second temple. But according to most rabbis, it's so holy that Jews are not allowed to go up on the Temple Mount and pray. So the consensus among rabbis is that Jews should not go up there and pray, being that it's the holiness of the place, and it's not, you're not able to do this. Okay, that's by the consensus rabbis. There is a group of more radical right-wing nationalist rabbis that are very interested in pressuring Israel to allow them to pray regularly up there. Historically speaking, also, of course, for the Muslims, this is the place of the Noble Sanctuary, the Haram al-Sharif, and it's Al-Aqsa Mosque, and it's the Dome of the Rock, this Dome of the Rock where people believe, also some believe Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac. It also is the place where, according to Islamic belief, Muhammad the Prophet rose to the heavens in the Isra evening, in the nighttime. So it's a very contested area, but we have to understand that up until about 20 years ago, the consensus was that Jews do not pray there. Even if it is holy to the Jews, they're not allowed to go up there and pray. So what we're seeing here basically is a growing attention in Jerusalem. And anytime someone touches the Noble Sanctuary, the Palestinians literally take this to such an extent that it does cause rioting, it does cause, it really hurts a nerve.
Right.
And this is also in the Ottoman times. Even before the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, I wrote an article in 1911 that an archaeological dig happened there. And very similar effects happened immediately. And the Ottomans had to pull back and cancel the archaeological dig in the region.
You made this statement just a few minutes ago, and I heard you when you said it, that traditionally the conflict between Israel and Palestine has been about territory.
Absolutely.
Obviously, and I want to talk about, Israel just announced approving 200 more settlements in East Jerusalem, and how that, will affect peace talks there. But do you get a feeling that this conflict as it relates to the Temple Mount is an extension of that, is in some ways connected, or,
Absolutely, it's connected. Listen, Israel has occupied the West Bank and East Jerusalem since 1967. Israel actually annexed Jerusalem, not like the rest of the West Bank. For the Palestinians, what they're seeing is a growing colonization of their city. And we know that any peace agreement, if reached, which seems almost unimaginable at this point, if reached, this city would be the city for a joint capital for Palestine and for Israel. So these steps that they're taking, tactically it's very important to remember, first of all, that the government is against allowing Jews to go up there and pray. But on the other hand, by doing this, it seems like they're giving something, that they're giving, that they're moving towards peace. No, they're not. That's not the point. They're at the same time, they're building more settlements in Jerusalem, and basically the Palestinians can't breathe anymore, to an extent that everywhere they used to have a whole neighborhood of Muslims or Christians and Muslims together, Palestinians are both Muslims and Christians, suddenly you have Jewish homes right in the midst.
Right.
So what we're seeing is a disappearing of Arab Jerusalem and a growing of parts of the Arab areas into a very Israeli Jerusalem. And these effects have caused tensions. The tensions didn't happen yesterday, they didn't happen last week, but we know since June, when the 3 Israeli boys were kidnapped and killed by Hamas. At the same time, a young Arab 15-year-old was kidnapped
Right.
and murdered very brutally, like the 3 Israeli boys.
Let me get to one thing before we run out of time, and that is, do you put a connection between the announcement, Israel's announcement of these 200 more homes in the settlement in East Jerusalem, with the upcoming trip that John Kerry is making to Jordan to meet with King Abdullah and Mahmoud Abbas?
Absolutely. It almost seems like, you know, you can place your bet on it that when John Kerry comes or announces something with the peace process that's moving forward, then you have more homes being built, right? Listen, nothing is going to move if the United States doesn't pressure Israel, and that doesn't look like it's going to happen very soon.
No, that's what I want to ask you. How much leverage, how much influence does the U.S. have on this very strong ally? Because it seems as though Netanyahu is becoming more and more, and forgive me for using this word, but belligerent over time.
I agree with you on that 100%. I mean, listen, if the United States wanted to, they could have done this maybe 2 years ago. Now that the Congress is in the Republicans' hand, we can forget that for a while. Unfortunately, what we're seeing is many missed opportunities. And Israel is going to have to face up to some very fateful decisions, because this is an area that's prone to get worse.
They seem so nonplussed right now. The whole international community condemns these actions and doesn't seem to deter them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Louis
Yeah,
Fishman,
unfortunately.
leave it right there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you. And you're watching Arise America.